before I introduce myself, I would like to just give a shout out to Isma for creating this event for you, which I'm sure that all of you really need at this time. And such gratitude for having me here today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing my journey and some of my experience with you, and hopefully give you some skills to take with you out into the world. So my name is Anneke Kirsten, actually. Barnard is my married name. But Anneke Kirsten, and I'm a psychologist in private practice here in Cape Town. I've been in private practice for 20 years. And I graduated in 2002 with a psychology master's, whereafter I continued my studies and specialized in the areas of mindfulness and emotional intelligence. And recently I've continued my studies in the fields of trauma and addiction. I'm also the single mother of a 12 and a 14-year-old who are very, very, very emotional, close to my heart, and probably has been my biggest learning in my life. So I'm going to start off by saying that my journey, to categorically state for those of you that maybe have gone through something similar, has not been an easy one. It has been very, very difficult. But it has only increased my passion and my motivation and my curiosity to understand this human experience we are going through, and particularly to understand human suffering. So today I'm going to speak of some things that may be quite uncomfortable for you. And so my invitation to you as well today is to hold whatever emerges with a sense of gentleness and kindness, because that's much more of that is needed in this world. But I also hope that you will leave here today feeling empowered, having a better understanding of personal well-being, a better understanding of mental health, and I'll be able to give you some skills and some tools to help better navigate this human experience that we are all going through. So perhaps I'm going to start off just by asking you, what is holding you back from becoming the person that you want to be? Perhaps just pondering that for a while, just taking some time. What is holding you back? And if you are the person that you want to be in this life, and you are living that out, honoring that. But if you are not, what is holding you back? Perhaps fear. Fear of what other people are going to think of me. Fear of others. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of abandonment. We are all riddled with fear. If we really start looking at ourselves, and in this society that is pervasive with fear, is in our faces all the time. The messages are saying that you are not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not rich enough, you're not tall enough, skinny enough. Do better. Work harder, be more. These messages are sent to us and to our children from a very young age. And what it creates is this fear and underlying belief that I'm not good enough. I need to do more, I need to perform more, and then I will get my self-worth. And a lot of times these beliefs are unconscious, like we're not even aware of them. So how do they manifest? How do they come out into the world? Through the choices that we make, through our behaviors, through our behavioral patterns. So this is today where I'm going to start speaking about mindfulness. And it's in the buzzword, but I really want you to understand what an incredible skill it is as well. Right? So mindfulness is becoming aware of our thoughts, of our feelings, of our body sensations, of our belief systems. of our patterns, right? Perhaps I would ask you, what is your internal dialogue like? How do you speak to yourself? Are you your own best friend? Your own biggest supporter? Or your own worst critic? Yes? Hard on yourself. Most of us are not even aware of how we speak to ourselves. And most of us are not aware of how we speak to others. We are on autopilot most of the time. Right? Autopilot. Right? So it's about becoming aware. It's awareness training. By becoming aware, we then create space to choose our response. Right? Viktor Frankl, a very famous psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust and wrote A Man's Search for Meaning, once said that, please listen carefully, between stimulus and response, so between the event and response, there is a space. And in that space is your power to choose your response. And in your response lies your growth and your freedom. Right? It's about creating that space, starting to create that space for ourselves. So this basically means that we have little control over what happens to us, the event, whether external or internal. But now, this is important. It's about starting to change how we relate to what happens, how we respond, because that is really where our power lies. So let's take fear for instance, because we spoke about fear. So fear comes up. I acknowledge it, because most of the time we don't acknowledge it. I acknowledge it. I say, right, there you are, fear. It's an emotion. We all know emotions pass. So it's about knowing that you are not the fear. The fear is moving through you. So disidentifying it from it. But then, and this is most important, which is never taught to us growing up, honoring our feeling, honoring the fear, it's there. What is it telling me? I need to listen. What is it needing from me right now? And how can I best take care of it? And that's where I want to come in today. That's really the crux of what I am hoping that we can take away here today. How can I best take care of myself right now in this moment? Because we were never taught that skill. We never taught that skill growing up. I certainly wasn't. I think it would have helped. But we are never taught that skill. So, it is about compassion. And you're going to hear me speak about compassion a lot today. About compassion. What is compassion? Wanting to ease the suffering of ourselves and others. Wanting to ease the suffering of ourselves and others. So coming back to compassion and self-care, it could be a really simple thing like something happens, fear comes up. Anneke, you're feeling fear. I can feel it in my solar plexus. It's tightening. It is actually, really. Alright, can I be with it right now? Can I be with it? Can I acknowledge that it's there? It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to feel this way. I think that's also important, not to make feelings wrong right. It's okay. So it's about opening our hearts once more. Because certainly for me, I know, and you'll hear in my journey, I close my heart to myself and to others. It's about opening our hearts to ourselves. Because otherwise we can't open our hearts to others and the world around us. I always say to my clients, it's not about feeling better, which the media says, right, do this, you'll feel better, you'll be better. It's not about feeling better, it's about getting better at feeling. Because that's never taught to us. But it is a skill that can be taught. Understanding, learning that feelings aren't dangerous and ridiculous. Right? It's starting to understand, acknowledge feelings. I think this is a good time, possibly, for those of you that feel comfortable with it. We're going to do a little practice. A self-compassion practice that you can take forth with you when you leave here. Right? So closing your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. Otherwise, just lowering your gaze, whatever is comfortable for you at this moment. Right? And becoming aware of yourself sitting here in this moment. So honoring yourself sitting here. Feeling your feet on the ground. Just sitting onto your feet. And then becoming aware of your breathing. Becoming aware of this breath. So I'm going to invite you to feel your belly expand with the in-breath. Pull back to the spine with the out-breath. Just stay with your breath. And then I'm inviting you to move into the area of the heart and the heart space. And just acknowledging whatever is there for you at the moment. Maybe fear, discomfort, anxiety, love. Perhaps nothing at all. I mean, that's what you're feeling. But acknowledging, becoming aware of the internal rhythm. And I'm going to invite you to softly or internally to yourself, repeating the following. May I be happy and healthy. May I be free from suffering. May I have joy and ease of being. Just seeing how that lands. So offering yourself this love and compassion. And then inviting you to think of someone that you love very much. Bring someone to mind that you care for and love very much. And offering them the same compassion and loving kindness. May you be happy and healthy. May you be free from suffering. May you have joy and ease of being. And then bringing to mind, into the mind's eye, this whole planet that we inhabit, and all sentient beings, and offering this planet the same compassion. May all sentient beings be happy and healthy. May all sentient beings be free from suffering. May all sentient beings have joy and ease of being. Just seeing how that lands. And then inviting you to bring your attention and awareness back to the breath. Feeling your feet on the ground. And then with a deep breath in and out, just coming back into the room, into the here and the now. Opening your eyes if they were closed. Thank you for joining. The man brain scientists have termed the happiest man in the world. I'm going to just speak loudly so that you. So the man that brain scientists have termed the happiest man in the world. Right? They did various tests on him. His name is Matteo Ricard. Does he do? How does he achieve this state? What we just did, compassion meditation. Cultivating that mental muscle of compassion. So it is a skill that can be trained, right? So this is where this neuroscience comes in and the science comes in a bit. It's not airy-fairy stuff. This is for real. We can actually have the ability to change our brain. It's called neuroplasticity. And they've shown it. So by doing compassion meditation or taking these short compassion breaks as you've seen, we're retraining our brain to become more compassionate, to hold ourselves with more compassion, ourselves and then also to others in the world. But for compassion to be cultivated, there needs to be a sense of connection. Connection with ourselves, connection with others, connection with the world. Because what has happened is that we have become separated, we've become disconnected from ourselves, from others, from the world around us, from nature. That's why we're killing this planet. And also from something bigger than us for some of us, higher power, right? We've become disconnected. And it is my opinion, right, that this lies at the root of all mental illness. I'm currently doing a course with Gabor Mate, who is a leader in the field of trauma and addiction. And he states that all mental illness is the result of complex trauma. Complex trauma. So what does this mean? What is trauma? What does trauma mean to you? Because there is a perception in the world out there that trauma is this big horrific event that happened to you. We need to correct that, because it could have been much more subtle than that. And for most of us, it was. It could have been a persistently disapproving parent growing up. Because you have to understand this, is that trauma is not what happened to us. It is what happened inside of us as a result of what happened to us. Every single one of the childhood trauma survivors that Gabor worked with and that I see in my private practice, they all have one thing in common. They never spoke to someone. They never told anyone what happened. They kept it all inside. They kept it all inside. And so what happens? There is a fundamental disconnection with the self and with others. You lose connection with yourself. You hear people say, I've lost myself. It's a fundamental disconnection with the self. Almas, one of my favorite authors and spiritual teachers, writes,
The greatest calamity is not that there was no love and support. The greater calamity, which was caused by the first calamity, is that you lost connection to your essence. Lost connection to you, your inner voice, your intuition, who you are. We disconnect from ourselves as a means of survival. I need to state this. This is very important that we understand that. We disconnect as a means of survival because the pain was just too intense. It was too overbearing, right? So we had to. So it's survival. So what do? We develop these defense mechanisms, armor, defense mechanisms, and these really destructive, dysfunctional, sometimes very self-destructive behavioral patterns to cope in life. Because that's what humans do, right? That is how we survive. That is not a fault. I have to state that is not a fault. But becoming aware of and waking up, right, to the reality that this disconnection is causing incredible harm, not only to ourselves, but to others and to the world, right? That is our responsibility. So it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. So believing that we can heal, I think, is absolutely crucial to the survival of the human species and this planet. Otherwise, we're in trouble. So COVID has had much to teach us. And many of us incurred significant losses. And today I want to honor that and have compassion for that. But it also taught us something. It's also teaching us something, and we need to listen. We need to start listening and deeply listening. From a mental health perspective, two things emerged. No longer could we get our fulfillment or our fix from the outside. We had to look inwards. And in a culture that we grew up with, once again, it's not our fault, in a culture that promotes external rewards, fulfillment, gratification from the outside reward system, right? This was understandably very difficult for us. Secondly, we realized how much we need human connection. We need it. We need connection with the world. We need connection with nature. And if it's taken away from us or denied from us, then we suffer. We suffer emotionally. We suffer mentally. So we need to start listening to these lessons. Because if we don't start listening to the lessons, they are going to continue to repeat themselves. That's how it works. They will continue to repeat until we start listening. 1, we need to learn how to be in a healthy relationship with ourselves. Right? And I'm going to say it again. We need to learn how to be in a healthy relationship with ourselves. We need to learn to cultivate the skills of self-awareness and self-compassion. We need to start listening to our inner voice. We need to start learning how to trust our own experience. And this needs to happen at school level. There needs to be mindfulness training and emotional intelligence training at schools. And mental health should be forefront and center in education, both at home and at school. Secondly, we need connection with others, with nature, with earth, with something bigger and larger than us. Individualism and self-sufficiency have failed us, clearly failed us. We need to understand that it doesn't imply weakness to ask for help. It does not imply weakness to ask for help. Vulnerability is the key to healing. It is time, everyone, to start destigmatizing mental illness. It is time to understand that this culture rife in shaming and shame is making people sicker day by day by day. And it's causing separation and disconnection to ourselves and to the world and to people around us. This cultivates this mentality of it's us and they. I'm not like that. It's us and they. The experts predict a tsunami of mental illness and addiction in the world. It's happening. It is happening. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in young people. According to the World Health Organization, depression is the leading cause of ill health and disability worldwide. This is a reality. This is what's facing us. I came very close to being a statistic. It means I have first-hand experience of mental illness. I understand it. I also understand that it's nothing to feel shameful about. Nothing, right? And asking for help is not a sign of weakness, as I've said. I also understand mental illness in the context of an ill society, of a very sick, toxic society. Therefore, it is my belief that the only way that we can incur change, right, is if that we seriously start examining and investigating and questioning our prejudices and our judgments, realizing that these only separate us more from one another and from the world around us. To quote Albert Einstein, biggest brain, a human being is a part of the whole called by us, universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and his feeling as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. It's delusion that we're separate. We are all connected. We are all one. We are. And we have forgotten it. Right? Ubuntu. I am because of you. I am because of you. Connectedness, community, compassion, understanding, not victimizing. On the way back from fetching my daughter at dance yesterday, the lyrics of a Coldplay song just caught me. Am I part of the cure or am I part of the disease? And the choice is yours, and the choice is ours, and the time is now.